Warning: the following live stream contains material that may be harmful or traumatizing to some people who cheer for the Texans, Colts, and the crappy ass Jags. You've been warned. Hope you enjoy the show and tighten up.
McNair gives it to George, running right up the middle. Touchdown! Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle!
Safety, now you're one-on-one with it.
Shows why he's the man! In trouble. Sack!
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's everyone doing? Welcome to Titans Tuesday with yours truly, Mr. Titan here. We got a special guest. I'll bring him on in a second. But just want to say thank you guys for tuning in for another live episode of Mr. Titan. I'm having fun with this Titans Tuesday. Has a nice little ring to it, and it's fun just to, even though it's the off season, just to talk about a little bit of Tennessee Titans news. Obviously, we have a couple news reports that we're going to talk about. Remember, if you guys are in the chat, man, hit up the chat. Look at that. We got Raul in the house from Florida. What's up, brother? Tying up. Let's go. We got my buddy Will. Said, what's up, Alex and Turron? Tying up. Yeah, thank you for coming on, and thank you for interacting in the chat. Like I said, in the chat, just be on it. There it is. What's up? Jesus is back up in with us. So good evening. What's up, brother, man? Excited to be here with you guys live. Little tired, but got myself some water and I'm ready to go. Yo, Alex, straight from South Florida. That's what's up. That my man. So let me introduce my buddy. We have the legend himself, Mr. Turron Davenport. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
I'm awesome. How are you?
We're here, man. We're here. Started baseball. Like I told you, I was doing baseball coaching.
Yeah.
That's it's been taking a lot of time. I'm exhausted, man. It's crazy. I didn't think, Coach Pitch would do anything like that, but it's wild. These parents are crazier than the kids, though. Let me tell you.
A lot of them, they're living their childhood out through the kids. That's what happens.
Yeah, and the most important thing is just let the kid have fun. And some of these parents, they don't know that, man. It's hard because I'm like, man, why are you so hard on these kids, man? Let them play, because at the end of the day, you're gonna take the fun out of the kids. The kids are not gonna want to play, So
yeah.
It's interesting. Again, it was something that was kind of brought upon me. Wasn't going to actually, I wasn't going to coach, but they were like, hey, we need a coach. And if not, the kids are going to actually go to another team, and unless a parent comes up. And I was like, I waited. I don't have the weekends off. So I'm like, I don't know if the games are on the weekends. Like, I can't do it. The guy was like, no, it's not. So I was like, if it's the weekday, then I guess if there's a last minute, I'll see. And here we are, the Tennessee, the Titans baseball team, and we're in it. But how are you doing, bro?
Excellent. It's the off season, but obviously we're getting ready for the combine, coming through some tape. Watched a lot of Washington yesterday. I'll probably watch some more. It's watching Rome and Dunze and Jalen Polk is fun, and Penix, and they got the two, Roger Rosengarten and Troy Fautano. There's a lot to watch with them, man. And I'm enjoying that. So I'll probably watch a couple more of those games. I think Oregon State I'll watch, and we'll see what y'all. I think the Michigan State one I'll watch too.
And that's the most important thing, is just kind of studying and seeing the players that you like. Let's see what this franchise is going with too. As being a new coach, and it's interesting to see their take and how him and Brian Callahan are going to work together and kind of make what this team's going to be about. We got
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen, how it's going to work out. What's up, Cat? We don't know what these coaches like and what traits and things that they're going to be looking for. So it's an exciting time because I think you could see a difference in especially like the receiver position. It seemed like, you had to be big, fast, and physical and block before, whereas now I wonder if that same mantra is going to continue on in the wide receiver group or if they go with a smaller guy, so we'll see.
Yeah, and that was what a big thing. That was like a Mike Rabel thing, right? You had to block when you're a wide receiver, right?
Yeah. And it's necessary. I think
Yeah,
that should be a thing for everyone, but there's a hierarchy,
yeah,
an order of operations. Like I need to make plays first. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, 100%. And we're gonna go through that, guys. I have a couple questions for TD that we're gonna break down. We're gonna be talking about obviously, the 3 new coaches that we picked up that was announced today. We're gonna talk about a little bit about Derrick Henry, and I know you had an interesting take on that. And then I have a game for you. It's gonna be called the Titans General Manager Turron Davenport. And I want to pick your brain and see if you were the Titans general manager, what would your way be in? What would you want to pick, or what would you go for in the draft and stuff like that? But let's get to these comments right here. What's up, Kat? What's up? Thank you guys for coming on. Alejandro, hey man, I hope you're feeling better. I know you were sick and stuff, so Chili was telling me, so hopefully you feeling better. TD, let's go. Yo, go. He said 7th round pick, offensive tackle, or all right, we'll have to see what happens. We'll talk a little bit, Raul, about the draft, of course. But first things first, man, the Tennessee Titans, they added a couple people, right? They added Colt Anderson, Scott, and Steve. Now, from that standpoint, special teams, right? For Colt Anderson, a lot of people are talking about how he was for the Bengals and stuff in special teams, so he's familiar with Brian Callahan. Can you tell us a little bit more about these 3 coaches that they picked up?
Yeah, well, Colt Anderson, rather, I remember him playing for the Eagles. I remember that period, and he's a Montana guy, so he actually cut his teeth and made his money, I think, a good 5 years in the league playing special teams. So it's clearly important to him. So you'll like that. He got some credit for the work with Evan McPherson, Money Mac, the kicker. And last year they had Charlie Jones, who was a pretty good returner there, the guy out of Purdue. So you have that. Steve Donatel, I know the ties there are just because Ed Donatel. I remember he was the he was the DB coach when I covered the 49ers, and I really liked him. I remember some of the things that he went out. This is his dad, Ed. Mm-hmm. Steve is, I'm not totally familiar with him, but I remember watching practice, and it was actually Matt Schaub. He threw the 7th pick 6 of the season, and I remember it came on a route. It was a combo route, and I remember they worked on it over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And it happened in the game, and it was a pick 6, so it was pretty cool seeing that. But yeah, I mean, so there's ties because Donatel was on the staff in Denver when Brian Callahan was there, so you have that tie. Scott Fuchs, I'm not fully familiar with him. I know that he does have extensive experience working the O-line, so that is a good thing. And he'll kind of like be a replacement in training for Bill Callahan once he does eventually move on.
Gotcha. And for your opinion, since you already kind of personally know some of these players, from your history, would you say they're good pickups? Do you see where the Tennessee Titans are kind of leaning towards, like the new, I guess, chain of command or new staff?
It's still open. I don't know Scott Fuchs or Steve Donatel. I don't know Cole Anderson for that matter, but I know that coming from Cincinnati, there's going to be a familiarity as far as the order of operations, right? How things are functioning. So I do think that you do have that to hang your hat on, but it's all wait and see, man. That's really this whole process is wait and see, and it's been that way, so we'll see how it works out.
and we still haven't picked up a strength and conditioning coach, right? And that's a one of the many question marks that everyone's kind of like, especially since these couple of years for the Tennessee Titans. It's just like the injury bug has played a really, really big role in the roster. Who do you think they're looking forward, or you think it's kind of just right now?
Yeah, I have no clue. I know Brian Bell is there now. That's the big guy. If you see him on the sideline, he's the big guy with the dreads. He's kind of running things now. Todd Torricelli is still there from what I understand. So, from the strength and conditioning and all that, you have those guys.
Definitely. And at one point, man, I mean, like you do your whiteboard Wednesday, and everyone loves it. And I love it too, man. Why was there never a shot of you trying to go for an offensive coordinator? I think offensive coordinator. No, he said, "Nah, why not?"
It's easy to do that on the whiteboard, in my little studio that I have, but it's a lot different when you have a defense reacting to things, and you're the chess game back and forth, and you have a job on the line. So yeah, it's fun. I love to do it, but yeah, and it's funny. Tajay Spears actually, I did a play for him. And he was like, "Man, you should be an OC." And I was like, "No, man, no." I appreciate it, but no.
Yeah, like I said, it's fun, and it's fun to watch, especially people that are good at their craft and just pick their brain. I think you're good, man. I think you're good. And it was a couple of you. It was kind of trending for a little bit on Twitter of we especially last year, of needing an offensive coordinator. I think Turron Davenport was in that mix of names, man.
Well, good thing I didn't get it, because I'll be out of a job right now.
No, man, no. All right, let's move on to the next topic, which is what's the best fit for King Henry. And you brought up the Ravens, and you had some decent points. I liked it. Just explain to everyone your reasoning behind that, and then we'll talk about other teams that could possibly go for Derrick Henry, or that would actually fit for King Henry.
Yeah, one of the main points for me when you look at the Ravens and a couple other teams, if you want to get into them, is the level of desperation, right? Everybody's tired of the Chiefs winning. And it's to the point now where one of the best ways to defend Patrick Mahomes is to keep him off the field. Obviously, the Ravens completely forgot about that, running the ball 6 times or whatever it was in the second half. But you put a guy like Derrick Henry, it's almost like he's the finishing piece to that offense. And obviously, the passing game has area for improvement. But I think if you have a Derrick Henry in the backfield, he's still going to make defenses be concerned about the run, So he's a great fit there. And then putting him back there with Lamar Jackson, who you have to account for on your own, there's a lot of things you could do as far as read option and, different things, play action, a lot of stuff where a defender has to be concerned about Lamar Jackson. So where Lamar moves will take that defender out of the picture, and that's one less guy to tackle Derrick Henry. We already know you need 11 on the team anyway to do it, even though he's at the age that he is. He still was number 2 in the rushing last year. So that's my reasoning there. I think he is the guy that really would make Todd Monken, okay, we got to run this football.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think about any other AFC teams? Because I feel like the NFC, I mean, the possibility is
Dallas.
The Eagles. Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas. The Eagles, I don't know. It would be interesting having them in that offense. I still think DeAndre Swift is a better fit for what they want to do, because they have that committee, right? It's DeAndre Swift, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. I don't see Derrick Henry functioning in a 3 running backs committee. I don't see that, right? So you got that. But, I mean, you talk AFC, I mean, Buffalo is still a team that I think would be in that level of desperation that we talked about that the Ravens have. They lost to the Bills, too. Josh Allen, I'm sure. Josh Allen had 13 rushing touchdowns last year. I did not realize that.
That's
13. Or wait a minute, it might have been 15, actually. So you're in goal line situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having 22 back there and not having to run QB power and all of that stuff with your quarterback, that helps,
Yeah.
So I can see that. Going back to the NFC, Dallas is a team. I mean, Tony Pollard is going to be a free agent, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
want to go heavy. They put him behind that offensive line. It'll be interesting, because they still got Zach Martin, who's a really good guard. You know what I mean? And I would imagine they're going to bring in a tackle, to complement. What's his name? Tyler Smith, not Tyron Smith, who's leaving. The other one, Tyler Smith. So I think the offense line is still good.
Yeah, for the Dallas Cowboys, and there was a lot of talks, and his his family, well, not his family, but his girlfriend, she lives in Dallas, born and raised in Dallas, and
he trains there too,
and he trains there all the time, downtown Dallas, exactly. And I mean, he told me his brother-in-law told me, he was like, at one point he wanted to be in Dallas, and before the draft, and what happened was that what was the coach, the weird guy that was on the team for a long time? What's his name?
On Dallas?
Yeah, Dallas. Who was the coach when? What's his name? Jason Garrett. He said
okay.
he talked to him. Yeah, he said he talked to him, and Derek didn't. I don't know. He just didn't. He said he just was kind of weirded out by him, and it ended up not happening. But I mean, it looks. I mean, I wouldn't want to see him, and just because it's personal opinion, I wouldn't want to see him in a Cowboy uniform. He looked good in a Cowboys uniform, but man, I think I don't know with Dak Prescott. Do you think they still have a chance? There's something wrong with Dallas Cowboys.
I don't think Dak is this terrible quarterback that people make him out to be. He did force the ball to CeeDee Lamb on the one play, the slant that was intercepted. But, I mean, there's a lot of good with Dak Prescott also. So, yeah, I think they have a chance, absolutely.
You think?
Don't forget, I mean, the defense gave up 40 points. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not all of Dak. That defense is supposed to be really good, gave up 40.
The most they did all year.
Yeah. Now, of course, Green Bay scored more than that because of the pick six, but I mean, yeah, they gave up 40.
Justin says that you're the GOAT.
Appreciate it, JP.
And he said,
yeah, Eddie and
remember that? Dang.
Yep. Didn't like it, man.
Yeah.
Funny story about Eddie George. I had the red and navy blue jersey.
Yeah.
I had that jersey. I used to wear. Eddie George was one of my favorite running backs. Yeah, because I mean he's a fellow Philly dude. You know what I mean? So I always liked him. I loved him at Ohio State. That team with Chris Sanders on the team and Terry Glenn and yeah, man, yeah. So I had his jersey back in the day.
That's cool. Now you're since I'm assuming you're still an Eagles fan. Like obviously you cover the Titans, but
yeah, I haven't had a team in a while. But when AJ went to Philly, I was like, yeah, I'll go back to the Eagles. Yeah, I'll go back to him. And then KB went there. We'll see how long he's there. We'll see how long AJ's there for that matter. But between those guys, and I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. So
yeah, Jalen's. I mean.
Yeah, and Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, and there's a lot. Yeah, I like the Eagles. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
He says I still have his Cowboy jersey.
Ooh, Justin, burn it.
Let me tell you, man. These Cowboys fans, it's fun to talk, football with them because they're so invested, and they say it's either Dak's the problem or it's Jerry Jones. It's what they say. It's one of the two.
Yeah,
that's all I hear from them. And Jason,
well, be careful what you ask for. Dak gets up out of there. It could be a little different.
Yeah. They have their backup quarterback. What's his name?
Trey Lance.
Yeah, Trey Lance. There it is. I don't know. Talk about Derrick Henry. And is there another possible team that he actually could go to? So we talked about what? We talked about the Bills. We talked about the Ravens. And we talked about the Cowboys.
Bills, Ravens, Cowboys. I mean, the Eagles, I've seen that mentioned. People say Kansas City. I say no to that.
I don't think so.
Pacheco is pretty much, and they got McKinnon. I can't really think of any other teams. And there's other running backs out there. That's the whole thing. Like, you got Saquon Barkley, you got Austin Eckler, you got Josh Jacobs. Like, I've seen Josh Jacobs connected to the Cowboys. There's so many backs out there, man.
And what would be the price range for him? What do you think Derek's trying to get? You think Derek's more about trying to win a chip, or is he trying to still get paid? So, which obviously, I mean, I understand he's trying to get paid, obviously, but
he said both are important, and like he doesn't want anything disrespectful. So I would imagine, you know, you got to come in at 7 to 8 per. You know, I would think that's what the tag on the position is. What, 10? So I would think you know, 2-year deal, 20 million, guarantee like 14 to 15, and you know he'll put your jersey on. From what I was imagine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I mean, whew, I mean, we'll see what happens. I know for sure. I know for sure that Derrick Henry will not be a Titan. It's a lot of people
It's
are
not
still,
likely.
yeah, a lot of people are hopeful, and but it's just I already come to that conclusions. Like, you know what? Even after the last game, him coming out, blowing kisses, then saying a little speech, I think his time with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I think it's ran its course, and unfortunately, like we talked about Eddie George, not all the greats of the greats, end up retiring with the same team. I mean, Steve McNair, with the Ravens.
Most of them don't.
A lot of people, and I don't know why people get stuck with that. I don't know. I think it's just like, I guess it's just trying to be optimistic or just hopeful, but yeah, it won't.
Yeah.
Raul says wherever he goes, he won't be the cowboy running back anymore. Tennessee's best fit, 1-2 punch with Spears.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think Baltimore, he will be the one that gets the bulk of the carry. Of course, Keaton Mitchell is there, but he tore his ACL late. J.K. Dobbins is a free agent. Gus Edwards, a guy I think the Titans should sign, is probably he's a free agent. So
we got Joe saying possible future cap casualties and restructuring.
Yeah, I mean there's one really, and that's Andre Dillard, and it's not just a cap casualty; it's just a casualty. Period. You know what I mean? Like, it was not good. We all know that, and whoever's decision it was, whether it was Rand Carthon, Mike Vrabel's, whoever, yeah, that's one that has to happen.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like I said. Be honest. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
Look at J-Rob.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to restructure anybody. Honestly, you got, as of right now, it's like $65 million, so they're good there.
Okay. All right. Just give me 1 second. We're gonna add this in here. So the next topic we have was, I know everyone's talking about T. Higgins and D Hop becoming teammates. We saw it earlier. I think it was a Instagram post that T. Higgins posted, and D Hop made a comment with the swords, and people obviously were going crazy. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, the Bengals already franchise tagged them. Is there any situation where you could see him actually going to the Tennessee Titans at all, or no? No, right?
No, I don't think they do the sign and trade or anything like that. The Bengals are going to tag him. It's already come out that's something that they're going to do. It's cool to see D Hop, put the swords on there and everything, but he has no control of the situation.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And frankly, T. Higgins doesn't completely either. Like, they put the tag on him. What is he going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you can hold out or whatever, but they'll just let him sit, so.
So we have a question from Justin, but we'll answer that in the next topic that we're going to be talking about. Haley says, 2 good men right there. Hey, guys. What's up, Haley?
Haley's cool.
Let's do this. So it's going to be, okay, Titans general manager Turron Davenport right here, okay? This is you, TD, man. This is all for you. Now, 2024. The season's yours. You're going into free agency. You're going into the draft with the
Mm-hmm.
same position we were in right now. But if you're acting general manager, what's the first thing you're looking at? Who are you looking at? Go ahead. The floor is yours, man.
So I look at the offensive line and the issues there. You see, Skoronski is that guy
Yeah.
in the future at left guard. I go ahead and shore up the opposite guard position. I like Daniel Brunskill, but I bring him back as a depth guy.
Okay.
And I signed Robert Hunt from the Dolphins. That's a move that I make to bring him in. I look at the receiver position and say, hey, we need some help there. So I signed Darnell Mooney and I signed Tyler Boyd. I pick up the phone and see what John Lynch wants to do about Brandon Ayuk. When he asks me for a first-round pick, I say, hey, yeah, number 7 overall is not up for sale because that's where we're going to get either our future number 1 receiver or our future left tackle. So, all right, offensive side of the ball looks good. I look at Tajay Spears and I say, you know what? I need a short yardage back. I signed Gus Edwards as well. So that's Gus Edwards, Robert Hunt, Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney. So on the other side of the ball, I look at the defense. I wonder if the Chargers cut Joey Bosa. I think about it and monitor that situation. Place a call to Adisa Bukhari and talk about Chase Young. When I see those guys are priced out, I say, you know what? Danico, come on back. Aziz, I need you back.
Yeah, definitely.
I do that.
And
Christian Fulton would be interesting.
In your opinion, you think Aziz will come back? I mean, I know that his contract he's a free agent. Do you
I think he would come, but he in talking to him, he loved the scheme. Obviously, it's going to be a different scheme, but he really liked it here. I think if you look at where Denard Wilson came from, now obviously his defense is different from Mike McDonald's defense. But you look at McDonald's defense, Patrick Queen in the 2 years that they worked together. Now, obviously, the arrival of Roquan Smith helped, but Patrick Queen, you saw his career go like this, and now he's going to be a high-priced free agent, right? So you have that. And obviously Roquan. So I think Aziz would want to come back to work in that scheme, and he's a guy that, because there's so much sub package, nickel is your base, he could play in that package as well. So yeah, I think he will be back. So those are the guys that I retain. Sean Murphy Bunting is one I would look at retaining, but I would go out and sign. I'm signing Jeff Okudah, and I'm doing a deal that's not out of this world. I'll give him, a 1-year deal if that's what it takes to come in and play under this guy that we know will get the best out of you. Okudah is a former top 5 pick. The kid has talent. You got Steve Jackson and Frank Bush. They both know of him. So if they don't sign Okudah, then that's going to say a lot because, Steve Jackson was his coach there in Atlanta. So I would sign Okudah. I look at Chidobe Awuzie and see about signing him too. So, all in all, I signed 6 free agents, right?
Okay.
6 free agents. Gus Edwards, Robert Hunt, Tyler Boyd, Darnell Mooney, and I signed Devin Duvernay too because I want my return problems to be fixed. Devin Duvernay, bring back Aziz and Danico. Those aren't free agent signings per se. Those are basically re-signings. So Awuzie and Okudah. So it's 7 free agents. That's what I was signed.
And what do you do about Christian Fulton?
He don't want to come back. I think Christian Fulton's gone. I would be very surprised if he comes back. Like you could want to sign him, but I don't think he. Yeah.
He mentally checked out of the Titans.
I don't think it's he. I just think it's. He needs to be somewhere else. Change the scenery. Yeah.
Okay. And that's coming from. Makes sense. Gotcha. All right. So we have Raul Garcia. We have a couple questions. He says, how about chasing a good edge rusher? Any decent in the free agency?
Yeah. And those I mentioned, Chase Young, I mentioned, checking, monitoring the Joey Bosa situation or Khalil Mack. One of those guys end up getting cut. So I think if you look at what the Titans have, I think they're okay at defensive end / outside linebacker. You got Danico, who could be stand up or hand in the dirt. Weaver is depth. Rashad Wheeler gives you depth. Arden Key is still a good player. He didn't get double-digit stats, but he's a good player. And Harold Landry is still a good player. So that's, 4 right there. I don't think you necessarily have to. And then you still got Caleb Murphy, who's a developing player. And we didn't get to the draft yet. So there's because I have a guy who is probably going to be there in the 4th round and is a beautiful match for what they want to do.
Okay. So we have Justin says also, what if this season injuries don't kill us? What's that say about Rabel's practices and strength conditioning staff? And I don't think there's ever been anything with the way Mike Rabel runs a practice, but I don't
know. There weren't issues with. In fact, he was very lenient with guys. I mean, it got to a point where Hopkins was able to take off a couple of days, and I'm not going to say he was able to take off a couple. Rabel rested him. I don't want to put that on Hopkins. Rabel rested him. Even Danico Autry, Derrick Henry, he practiced, basically like Wednesday and Friday. That was about it. So I don't put that on the Rabel's practices, the strength and conditioning. I don't know what the issue was. I don't know, and that's the whole thing that's so crazy.
Yeah, because I don't know if it has to fall somewhat on the player, but it also has to fall on someone, right? It can't just be all the players. Like we had the most injury-prone team ever. Like but then I don't know.
Even the Ravens, they had a lot of injuries. At one point I think they had like 22 players on IR. So it's just, I don't know. It's
you think
there's a lot that went on with it.
Compare their body.
You look at Christian Fulton. I mean, he changed his whole diet. Stopped eating fried foods. Cut down on the sodium. Went to Miami and trained with LeBron. And look what happened. He still, it's still caught up with him. So somehow, I don't know what it is. I don't know. And that's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I can't figure it out. So I'm just going to move on from it. Yeah.
Joe wants to know if he wants to bring Deontay Foreman back. I liked him. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, that's an interesting move for whatever reason. Like no burn in Chicago. I don't know what happened, but he's a guy I would look at bringing back. But Gus Edwards again. I think Gus Edwards is an even better short yardage back, and that's the guy I would. Gus Edwards had 13 touchdowns last year.
Yeah, I think people are stuck, which it wasn't bad. Deontay Foreman, just what his season looked like when Henry was out and when they kind of complemented each other. I think a lot of people liked him, and he did good for us. So, and he didn't do bad, like I said. But Justin wants to know, we retained 2 of the personnel from the old strength and conditioning staff, I believe. I don't know. Do you know?
Yeah, Brian Bell. There's actually 3. It's Brian Bell. I forget his name. I could see his face right in front of me, and there's a young lady that they retained too.
Okay. Robert Price wants to know, what's TD's take on coaching staff retaining so many guys from Rabel staff? Now, that could be either positive or negative. Obviously, as the fans, we just see kind of the negative part. But what do you think? Is it's a good take?
Well, I mean, so take Lori Locust, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like the production that Harold Landry had this year, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all because of her, but she and Harold Landry worked together one-on-one for a good period of practice, individual period, while Arden Key and Danico Autry and the rest of the outside backers worked with Ryan Crow. So I know, talking to Caleb Murphy, just some of the things that he learned and how much he improved as a pass rusher, in his own words, was a lot working with her. So I don't see anything wrong with retaining her. I think it was wise to retain her.
I like her a lot too.
Chris Harris, I think he's going to blend right in with Denard Wilson from an energy perspective. And look, he's still a solid coach. Like, it was just last year at this time, he was under high demand. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's a bad one. James Otten, the running backs coach who is now going to work with the tight ends. Again, you have experience as an OC. You have experience, in that. So I think that's smart to bring him back. We'll see how it works out. Like I can't speak as strongly on him as I can on Lloyd Locust and Chris Harris. I'm trying to remember who else has been retained. I don't think there were a lot of coaches, honestly. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't.
Obviously Bowen's gone, Ryan Crow's gone. Scott Booker just signed with the Bills. We know Terrell Williams is gone. Rob Moore is gone. Tony Dews is gone. I hate that move. That's Charles London that's the one. I think there was a mistake.
Okay.
That, in my opinion, was a mistake. Pat O'Hara, I don't know where he's wasn't brought back. So most of the staff, I mean, 2 or 3 coaches are back. So it's not even a collection of them.
Definitely. What's up, Ryan Harris? How you doing, bro? So he said, "What up, everyone? What up, Mister Ryan's a cool dude." All right, we got Al Pierce says the coaching staff is predicted to be far better at developing players. TD, what players do you see having good seasons due to coaching? And that was one thing I've kind of mentioned a couple times before, was just like developing players. For some reason, it seemed like the Tennessee Titans weren't good at developing players. I mean, we can go back to even like quarterbacks and stuff. I mean, you had Marcus Mariota, you had Jake Locker. The list goes on and on of developing quarterbacks. What about players in general? Do you think the Tennessee has the coaching staff, or is it the coaching staff, or what, man?
Well, Denard Wilson has been known to get the best out of DBs. That's why I asked him specifically what he looks for and those types of things. Roger McCreary, I think, is going to really benefit from this staff. I would expect to see his game elevated even more. You got him. I think Amani Hooker could be a better player. You look up front, you got Coach Rocker working with Simmons and those guys. I think it's going to be in the secondary. I think those two, McCreary and Amani Hooker, and then, in my opinion, the whole offensive line. I think Skoronski's going to elevate to a really high level, and you're going to see why it was worth it to use the 11th pick on a guard. I think, whoever they bring in, and having Bill Callahan there, it makes the Olu Fashanu option one to really okay, yeah, you have something that could get that polish that diamond and make it shine the way it's really capable of. And then you look at him with Dylan Radins and Petit Ferreira. I mean, these are 2nd and 3rd round picks. They're talented players. A coach like Callahan should be able to elevate them. And that being said, he's an O-line coach, not a magician. So, I'm not saying that he's going to turn, them into Lane Johnson or anything like that, but he should be able to get their game elevated.
Raul wants to know, any chance we move up in the draft? I don't think so.
Don't really have the capital to do it. And the way things fall, they could sit at 7 and you're going to get a premier player, right? I mean, you look at, there's 4 players that are premier players that, aren't quarterbacks. Bashanu, Joe Alt, who I think absolutely should be the pick if he's there. Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors. These are 4 players, right? Now you factor in the quarterbacks, like Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. Now, if a team wants to bump in there and get a guy like JJ McCarthy, which I doubt would happen, but if a team, hey, look, Christian Ponder was drafted 7th. You never know what can happen. So you have those guys, and then you have Marvin Harrison Jr., a good player, a top 5 talent is going to get pushed down to them.
All right, here's a good one from Justin. He says, do you think Caleb Farley steps up this season with the new staff working with him? And what's his again, Caleb had a rough year last year, dealing with the back issue, then his father passing away with that. What did you see with the last seeing him in the locker room.
He still doesn't feel the same. I mean, it's not as much up to the coaches as it is to his body to heal. And one of the things he told me is that he still didn't feel the like his calf triggering the way it should. So his, fast twitch ability, which is something that was trademarked for him at VTech, it's not there right now. So he's someone I wouldn't bank on anything from him. If you get something, hey man, that's good money. But otherwise, I wouldn't bank on anything.
Oh wow! All right. Well, here's another one with an injury person, which is AZ Mix says, I really hope Treylon Burks can turn things around and stay healthy. What was the last thing you've heard about Treylon, and what do you expect? I mean, his third year, coming into to the Tennessee Titans right now.
Yeah, I mean, Trey told me he was going to hit it hard. He was going to be focused on trying to do as much as possible to avoid injury. It's a lot of the same stuff he said last year, leaving in, and he came back in really good shape. Everything was good with him, and then you had the situation in Minnesota with the knee. So I think Burks is a guy that can improve, not because of positional coaching, but because of scheme itself, to where I would expect him to get more targets and get more involved in the game early and consistently. And I think the inconsistency he had was a part his fault, but also I think that was with play calling as well.
Yeah, because especially being a young wide receiver, going like that and not getting the ball consistently, kind of, especially could also, I mean, these guys need to be consistent at all times. And I mean, like you said, he dropped some balls, but at the same time, there was sometimes he was running routes and the ball he wasn't even getting targeted. He was just out there, So hopefully, as Titan fans, we're hoping that Treylon can come back strong this year. Thoughts about moving? No.
I mean, it's not something I would probably do. I would consider it, but I think you could get there are centers available in this draft that you could get, on day 3 even. There's centers. I like the center out of LSU, who was a guy that I think. As a matter of fact, I just did a mock yesterday, and I got him in the 5th round. So
okay,
for whatever that's worth.
Okay, now let's talk about the draft, because you were talking about that you had someone that you said was going to be good. Let's talk about if TD was doing the draft. Who are you picking? You said it was wide receiver or offensive line, right? For the
that's I mean, that's the direction you have to go, one of those two, and you could do that because you're going to have one of the top 2 there at that position, which at number 7 is good. So it's either Alt or Fashanu or a Dunze or Neighbors. So it just depends on how that board falls. But I think you're going to have a good pick out of those, and whichever direction you go, you just flip it in the 2nd round. Where I'm not saying you have to do it, because sometimes you have a really good 1st round talent that falls into the top of the 2nd. But if it were me, right, if all 4 of those guys are on the board, I'm going Joe Alt.
Okay.
In fact, I probably go for Fashanu ahead of. I'd probably go for Fashanu ahead of Dunze. I'd probably go one of those 2 ahead of Dunze and Neighbors. They are really good players. Like, don't get it twisted. But I just think if you could get that position taken care of, and it's almost can't lose with those, because okay, you get Joe Alt. He's polished. He's ready to play. He'll probably be a Pro Bowler in year 1. Gotta love that. You get Olu Fashanu, still solid. Gave up 1 sack last year, and very athletic. Not to say that Alt isn't, but there's a lot of upside and polish. You got Bill Callahan to do that, and he could be a Pro Bowler probably in year 2. So now you're good there. So if you go that route, you come back in the top of round 2. Now I think Brian Thomas from LSU will be gone. There's a good chance A.D. Mitchell will be gone. But now you're looking at Xavier Worthy, who's a nice vertical threat. But remember, this is a team with this format that signed Tyler Boyd, that signed Darnell Mooney, has Treylon Burks, who you think is going to develop into a nice player, and also has DeAndre Hopkins and Kyle Phillips. right? So I still go for a guy who I think could be a number one. I don't think Xavier Worthy would be one. I think he and Darnell Mooney kind of cancel each other out.
Okay.
Xavier Legette is the guy that I strongly look at, and he's probably the direction I would go at the top of the second round. A.J. Brown, like as far as like the style of play. So you have that. Now, of course, if you go Neighbors or Doomsday at 7, you come back. Patrick Paul out of Houston, I think, will be there at 38. You also got Jordan Morgan, but he has the short arm complex. So, you know, that's something you got to weigh in. Like, was that a factor in moving Skoronski to guard or not? If it was, then Jordan Morgan would probably not be the guy you pick. But if Patrick Paul's there, he has 36 to 37-inch arm, and he's 6'7". There's no, he's good. So you got that. You don't have a third rounder. Somebody asked about the edge rushing side of things. In the fourth round, I tell you, watching Penn State film, it took me longer because I would watch it over and over again from the secondary side, and then looking at it from the end zone view, I would watch it over because they have Chop Robinson and Adisa Isaac. If you watch Penn State film, focus on number 20. He is ridiculously disruptive in the backfield all the time. I think he will be there in the fourth round. That's the guy that I would pick. Now, also, and this is one of the things about watching film, I was watching Washington for Roma Doomsday, and I kept saying, man, that daggone Kyrie Jackson, man, is man, this guy's good. He's the corner out of Oregon. I could see him. If he runs well, he'll probably go in the third round. But, you know, he's someone that beats there in the fourth, I would consider. Now, also with this draft, the way things are, I wouldn't hesitate to try to package up and move into the third round or get another fourth round pick to get another one of these players. So those are a couple of guys. I mean, you talk the receiver position too. Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky. I saw the Senior Bowl compared him to Anquan Bolden. He is that same tough type of receiver. That's why they gave him number 81. To look at it as a little more modern comp is Deebo Samuel, and I'm not talking about the greatness, but just the way the 49ers used him out of the backfield, jet motion, jet sweeps rather, in the slot, everything. He's somebody. Javon Baker's a really good route runner. There's a lot of receivers. I didn't even talk about Roman Wilson, who I tell you a Roman Wilson story, right? Keon Mitchell, who is the corner out of Toledo. He was the best corner at the Senior Bowl, maybe the best corner in this draft. There's an argument that could be made.
Okay.
End of practice on Wednesday. Wednesday. End of practice on Wednesday. They called everybody up, put them in the circle. Keon Mitchell. Keon came out to the middle. He said, call somebody out to end practice. Who you want? Keon Mitchell said, Roman Wilson. I happened to be standing in the circle next to Roman Wilson. He turned to me and was like, watch this. He went out there. He routed Keon Mitchell up, something terrible, and made a one-handed catch like this and was able to control his body and make his butt cheek land in bounds. One cheek equals 2 feet. And it just came back and was like, Roman Wilson's a player. I say all that to say that. He's a vertical threat out of Michigan. You didn't really get to see him because of that offense being so run heavy, but Roman Wilson is the guy you're going to hear people talk about, especially after the combine when he runs that 4.3. He told me 4.2. I said, he ain't running 4.2. 4.3, I can see it. Yeah.
And you're going to be going to the combine?
Yeah, I'll be there Monday through Saturday. We got you'll see Rand Carthon and Brian Callahan. They're speaking Tuesday morning.
Okay, cool. That's always an interesting take, especially where we're at right now. I know a lot of people think that the Titans are maybe 1 or 2 players away from. I think we're
3 or 4, 5 or 6, maybe 7.
37.
That roster needs work, and it's okay. I mean, that's what happens when you hit the reset button.
Yeah. Now, as pressing the reset button, how long do you think that reset button is going to take us to get to being contenders or even competitive into the AFC South? Because again, the AFC South is just going to get better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. Like, people look at Jacksonville a couple years ago and Houston last year, and the thing you got to remember is Jacksonville was already like that team was talented. They just were coached to a disgraceful level. I mean, so you get a competent coach in there, actually a good coach in Peterson, and boom, And then you look at Houston. Yeah, I mean, they turned things around, but remember, they had 2 first-round picks. They had money to spend. They got a franchise quarterback. They hit on later picks, right? And you already had talented players on the roster too. Now they have 24 free agents, so we'll see.
Ooh.
But when you look at the Titans, I mean, you got to look at it with an understanding that Houston and Jacksonville were unique situations. I wouldn't expect the Titans to compete for an AFC South title next year. Now, will they be a competitive team and win some games? Yeah, I think 7 or 9 games is a good building block, and then you work from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think Houston last year's record was 3-13 and 1, I think, or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So a lot of people were saying like that the bar was too high of even being competitive to almost at least trying to get in the playoffs. I think it depends on how this team reacts and how this team develops under the new system and stuff. But it's not doable. I mean, look, like I said, look what happened with the Texans. But again, you have to hit on the draft, you have to hit on free agency, and then everything should align together. But
and they hit on both. They hit on both.
They
right?
really did.
And then you had the true emergence of Nico Collins, right?
Oh.
And then you talk about free agency. Dalton Schultz came in and was a top level pass catcher, right? And it just a lot of stuff went right for them. Then you also got the refresh. Like, D'Amico Ryans brought that energy. You know what I mean?
Really
so
did.
yeah,
Again, hitting the nail on the head with the coach again, which I think he should have got Coach of the Year. I'm just saying that they took that from my man. I'm not a Texans fan, but I mean I liked what he had. I like what he showed, and I'm just saying I don't do any more.
Stefanski got it right.
What's up?
Stefanski got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
no.
Jim Sports did the thing. Like they were winning on that defense,
Exactly.
But hey, whatever.
It's just like I said, I don't really that, but I still think that he should have been Coach of the Year. And he changed that whole complete team. I mean, they love him, and it makes sense. I mean, he's passionate and he knows ball. So, unfortunately, when the Texans were playing in the playoffs, I actually was rooting for them because I like their style. Yeah, man, I like their style. I mean, don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, I still don't want them to win it. Get into the AFC Championship. So when they lost, it was like kind of bittersweet. But at the same time, you can't. When you see something good and you see something great, you got to go with it. CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I like Stroud a lot, man.
I to be honest with you, TD, I didn't think that he was going to develop as good as or as fast as he did in the NFL. I thought he was going to struggle a little bit. So that's when I was just like, But I mean, he's a stud. He's a stud.
A problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, for our Titan fans, we got a problem. I'm not too worried. With Trevor Lawrence, I'm not too worried about him. Like he's a good player, but I think when it comes down to pressure and getting look, he went to Tennessee. He needed to win that game, right? That winning drive to get them in the playoffs, and he couldn't do it. So he's still young though, too. So,
yep.
But CJ Stroud, that's another animal. Now I don't know about Richardson. What do you think about Richardson?
I think Richardson has potential. It's just we just got to see. Like he can't play the way that he's playing, and expect the last. So that's the big thing. How Shane Steichen will use him. You saw the lesson running him all the time like that. Our Landry dunked him, and he had the shoulder. So
before I let you go, TD, Raul wants to know, TD, where and how big is your kid game since you're always wearing heat?
Yeah, well, that's Raul. That's a perfect opportunity for me to plug my guys at Soho. And
go ahead,
Soho Gallery, if you're ever in the natural area, they're in Hendersonville on Main Street. Okay. You can check them out, Soho Gallery on IG. But I got a code TD10. You get $10 off, and they got the heat. I just went out there. I grabbed two pair. I'm gonna probably go out there either tomorrow or Friday to get another pair. So yeah, that's where I go for the most part to get my heat, man. And they have finally decided to work with me, and we got a little thing going on.
Well, that's good, man. I mean, especially you promote, they promote, and I mean everyone likes the drip and what you wear, man. I mean, classy. I know Buck Rising is trying to compete with you, but he ain't gonna. I mean, he ain't gonna be there.
No, I don't compete with anybody. I just stay in my lane and show my own flavor, man.
There you go, man. Well, TD, man, I want to say before I let you go that I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always a blast talking ball with you, and everyone loves your insight. Everyone loves you, man. So keep doing what you're doing, man. And we're waiting for the Whiteboard Wednesday. It's gonna be a while, but
We'll be back September.
There it is, September, man. Oh God, that's a long time.
Yeah, man.
But hey, man, thank you so much, man. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Much love to everybody.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that was TD. Again, it's always a good time when TD comes around. Appreciate him. Thank you guys for all the comments. Man, it's been a blast. Again, everyone, great show. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate you guys. You guys are what makes the shows, what you guys drive. I mean, it's the best part is the live and connecting with you guys. So thank you guys so much. Have a good night. Till next time, next Tuesday. Let's go. Tighten up. Have a good one.